Outside the palace gate lies a dung heap, and on it lies a dog. He is old and covered in ticks, and nobody has fed him in a long time. A beggar comes up the path. The dog lifts his head. He has been waiting 20 years for this man, and he is the only one in the entire kingdom who knows him at a glance. His name is Argos. This is the saddest 12 lines in the whole Odyssey, and most retellings cut it. Odysseus raised him himself. He picked the puppy out, fed him, and named him Argos, meaning swift or shining. He raised him to be a hunting dog, fast enough to run down deer and wild goats, brave enough to hold a boar. And here is the first cruel detail. Homer tells us Odysseus never got to hunt with him. The dog was still young when the ships left for Troy. The training was finished. The hunting never started. Think about what that means from the dog's side. He learned everything he was for, and then the person he learned it for walked onto a ship. 10 years of war, then 10 more years of getting home, and the dog is still there. A dog of that size lives maybe 12 or 13 years. Argos is somewhere past 20. He is not just old, he is impossibly old, the way something is old when it has refused to be finished. Meanwhile, the house has rotted. 100 suitors sit in the hall eating the estate, waiting for the queen to give up. The servants stopped caring. With the master gone, nobody kept up anything he had loved, and that included the dog. So they put him outside on the pile of manure where the mules and cattle were dropped until someone got around to carting it to the fields. That is where Homer puts him, not in the hall, not by the fire, on the manure with the ticks. And the dog is a picture of the whole kingdom. Everything Odysseus built has been left outside to be eaten alive. Now the man comes home. 20 years late, shipwrecked down to nothing, and he arrives at his own gate as a beggar in rags. The disguise is the plan. 100 armed men are inside, and if they learn who he is before he is ready, he dies in the doorway. So nobody can know him. Not his son, not his wife, not the old servants, nobody until the moment he chooses. And that is the trap this story springs, because one of them is not going to wait for permission. He walks up the path with the swineherd beside him, talking about nothing, playing his part. And the dog on the manure heap lifts his head, 20 years of nothing, and he knows immediately. Not the face is weathered past recognition, not the voice. He is not using his own, something under all of it. Homer gives him 2 gestures. He drops his ears back and he wags his tail. And then he cannot get up. He tries to go to him, and his body will not do it. So he lies there wagging. That is all he has left, and he spends it. And the man sees him. Of course he does. He raised him. Homer says he turned his face away and wiped off a tear, hiding it from the swineherd walking beside him. Then he asks a question in the voice of a stranger. Whose dog is that? He must have been a fine animal once. And the swineherd answers without knowing what he is doing. This dog belonged to a man who died far from home. If you had seen him in his prime, he says, you would have marveled at his speed and his strength. Nothing he chased ever got away. The man standing there is the man who died far from home. He is being told about himself, in front of the dog who knows better. And he says nothing. He cannot kneel down. He cannot say the name. He walks into the house. Homer's next line is the one that does the damage. The moment Odysseus was inside, Black Death took Argos, in the 20th year, having seen him. He waited exactly long enough, not 1 day more. Now here is why this scene is in the poem, and it is not sentiment. It is the cleanest test of identity in the entire story. Everyone else in Ithaca demands proof. His old nurse needs to find the boar scar on his leg to be sure. The suitors need to see him string a bow no other man can bend. His son needs to be told and shown and told again. And his wife, the sharpest person in the poem, sets a trap about their bed to make him prove it after everything. Every human being needs evidence. The dog needs none. He does it in 1 second from a dung heap, with his eyes half gone. And that is the exchange this story is really about. To come home at all, Odysseus had to stop being Odysseus. He had to be nobody, and the price of being nobody arrived first at the gate, in the only creature that never once needed him to be somebody. The dog did the one thing the man was not allowed to do. He recognized him out loud. 28 centuries later, we are still doing this to ourselves. In 1930s Tokyo, a dog named Hachiko went to the station every evening to meet a man who had died at work. He kept going for 9 years, and people came to the station not to see the dog, but to see what waiting looks like when nothing can talk it out of it. That is what Argos is for, not to make you cry, though he will. He is there so that when Odysseus finally says his own name out loud in that hall, you already know exactly what it cost him to hold it in. Homer buries him in 12 lines and never mentions him again. He does not need to. Everybody who has ever read it remembers the dog.